you don't want to be, the question, you don't want to be the answer to a question that no one is asking. And I'll give you an example. There was someone that came a couple of years ago who had the idea for a fairly high-end kind of art studio over in the western part of the county. And they had a lot of information and that sort of thing. And the bottom line on it was that we said, if you want to do that down in Winter Park, maybe that works. If you want to do that down in Palm Beach, maybe that works. But in Deltona, that's probably going to be a very small business, okay? And it's again, having kind of just understanding that at the beginning and kind of, as somebody once said, tell me what it is I need to know, not what it is that I want to hear. And that's one of the most valuable things that can come out of the entire business planning process. You should be availing yourself to resources. You should avail yourself to some friends of yours who are maybe a bit outside of it, not to throw water on it, but to be a little skeptical about it, okay? To pass that test while you're not spending money, okay? Said another way, if you want to take a trip to the Bahamas in your boat, you might, and you've never done it before, you might want to go up and down the Intercoastal Waterway during a rainstorm a couple of times. You might want to go to St. Augustine when you're no more than 600 feet offshore. In case something goes wrong, you can kind of get back to the dock fast. Okay? You do not want to be 100 miles offshore and go down in the cabin and see that there's 3 inches of water and say, uh-oh, that doesn't look good, and I don't know what it is. Okay? And so that's why you kind of want to be thinking about all this stuff in advance. Somebody at the SBDC once said something that I've never forgotten. I asked them about running a business. And they said the two things that you've really got to think about are, number one, do you have a real grasp on what is involved in the business that you're considering? Not do you think you have a grasp, but are you actually connected to the reality of that business? And number two, are you willing to do that? Okay? An example might be, we had a woman in here about a year ago who was looking at starting another business. And she had spent 20 years running a house and apartment cleaning business, okay? And it was just her and 2 other people. And she said, this is not a huge business, but it's done okay. I was able to put my child through college with this business. And the reason it has worked is because I have always accepted this business on its own terms. And she said, what I mean by that is that if it's Saturday morning, 8:30, and I'm planning to go to the beach, and somebody calls and one of my people has flaked out, okay, or something's happened, then I'm not going to the beach that day. I'm going to be spending my Saturday cleaning somebody's home or their apartment. And she said the reason I do that is because I may be offering a home cleaning service, but what I'm selling is reliability. And I have never forgotten that. I've never gotten that kind of confused, and that's why the business has lasted for 20 years, because I get lots of good references and satisfied customers, okay? If you're looking at buying an apartment building and it bothers you to, call the sheriff when they haven't paid their rent and you've got to get somebody evicted, probably not your thing. Okay, if you don't like getting calls at 2 o'clock in the morning with, hey, my hot water heater busted, can you get over here and fix it? Again, may not be your business. If you like cooking, but you don't like working nights and weekends and being jammed up during Thanksgiving and Christmas or whatever, then catering may not be your business, because those are the realities of how those things work, and you just kind of buy into it. And I can't underscore enough having a real handle on what businesses are like and kind of accepting them on their own terms. Because once you do that, it makes it a lot easier. An example, we're going to show some examples here. As you think about businesses, your business can be, it only has to be successful for you. It doesn't have to be huge, but as you may have, some of you may know, the business across the street here, NASCAR, started over on the beach, Okay, in 1948, the France family had a gas station over there, and that's kind of what it became today, okay? And we're going to go through some other examples here to just kind of show you this process of planning and being grounded in reality. This is a woman named Robin Chase, who started a company called Zipcar. And she was quoted in a book, and she said, "I understood the ins and outs of every single aspect of that business. I understood the ebbs and flows." Okay? Someone said about her, "She is not interested in gut feelings or emotionally driven opinions. That depth of comprehension is only possible if you allow yourself to see your business as a whole, even the parts that are not working. Robin has a commitment to intellectual honesty." And that allowed that business to prosper. That business started in 2000 up in Massachusetts and was originally conceived as being for, the idea was kind of a car sharing service, okay? If you lived in New York or Boston, that's kind of where it started. You know, you could go and you needed a car for 2 hours, you could go get the thing and get a car for 2 hours, all right? They ended up selling it for $500 million at the beginning of last year, and they sold it to Avis, okay? And actually, it has actually morphed into a very big business for college students. If you go to UCF, if you go to Stetson, they've got Zipcar areas because students need a car from time to time, but they don't need them all the time. And that kind of started as one thing, but it became another. But it worked because she was very grounded in how to kind of make the thing, you know, what we call a dedication to reality. We're going to go into a little bit more detail on some areas, but 3 areas that are critical as you really kind of break down the planning mentality is marketing and sales, cost control, and cash control. It almost invariably, and as Bill has pointed this out, where businesses either fall apart is either they have overestimated how much their sales will be, or they have underestimated their cost, or they run out of cash. Okay, those are usually the 3 kind of killers to these things. And what do I mean by marketing and sales? We have all seen restaurant corners in this area where there have been 8 restaurants in a spot. Okay, and probably you're not going to be, the 9th one is not going to be more successful than the first 8 in most cases. That may not be a great location for a restaurant. In cost control, some of you may remember Quiznos, okay? And they're still in business, but they're not nearly as big as they were because the cost of their ingredients was sky high, which led to a very high cost per sandwich. And eventually, Subway learned how to buy a toaster oven. And when that happened, I mean, Quiznos, kaboom, went away very quickly. And the issues with running out of cash or and whatnot are very well known. And so as you kind of think about the planning process, you want to kind of go understand, where is my revenue going to come from? How am I going to generate that? What are my costs? What's actually driving those costs? And where's my cash situation? You want to know your cash every day. Now, I'm not going to go into a whole lot more detail on this than that, but these are what we call the hard components of the planning process, and which are very well outlined in all these templates that you can have available to you.